Hey guys, it's Adam from Loose Pixel. Looking through the 10+ year repertoire of videos, hundreds of videos that I've posted, I've only once posted a video where I talk about the apps that I use to organize my artistic process. And I'm somebody who obsesses over productivity apps and ways to streamline my workspace and my environment and my work method as well. And I was 10 minutes ago, I sat down to do some drawing and I opened up these apps that I'm going to share with you today, and I thought to myself, no, let's instead hit record and I'll share with you these apps that I've learned to fall in love with. And like I said, I test Gimli, I test countless apps. I think he wants to come and join us. You want to come join us? Come. Don't be a stranger. There you go. Please take your time. I'm not recording or anything. You gonna come hang out with Dad? Come. Here, let me remember this so you can sit down. So typical. Gimli's always in my videos now. He knows when I'm recording because he's a camera hawk and your tail's in the way. So I decided to start recording instead, and I was gonna share these with you. Now these are two particular apps, completely non-sponsored. Gimli, for God's sakes, get your tail out of the way. These are two apps that, number one, help me organize my thoughts, and number two, help me to organize my image references. And if you're somebody who loves Pinterest, stick around, you're gonna like this. If you're somebody who might have a hard time organizing your thoughts and structure yourself artistically, stick around. Now, the one other video that I posted in the back that I would definitely shout out to as well is the video I did on Milanote, which is an app I really love, particularly for somebody who loves visually planning as well. So check it out right there. I've linked to it right there. You can check it in the description as well. Highly recommend this, but that's not what we're going to be talking about today. The first one I want to talk about is a work method, and I'll also share with you the app that I'm working with now. None of this is sponsored. That I've learned, in fact, in the many decades on this planet that I've been around, had no idea how incredibly useful this is. And he's going to attack my hand here. So Gimli's got given me his hand because he likes to attack. He's such a very distracting cat. Actually, he's going to scratch my computer if I do that. So this is called mind mapping. You might be very familiar with mind mapping. This is something that's, ironically, interestingly, fairly new to me. It's a much more visually organized way of working, and for me in particular, maybe it's just the way my brain works, I find this incredibly intuitive, and I've been able to manage very complex projects far more easily and effectively, and create kind of a visual hierarchy on my thought process through this. The app that I've got here, in fact, both apps that we're going to be looking at today are paid apps, but they're very affordable and they're one-time purchase apps, which I'm a big fan of. Any app that I fall in love with, be it Logic Pro, Final Cut Pro, or any of these apps that I use on a daily basis, if I have the option to purchase once and forget about it, I always prefer that option because in the long run, that saves you a lot of money, right? Like all of my wonderful iPad apps like Art Studio Pro and Procreate, you pay for them once, you own them for life, instead of something like Adobe where you're paying $20-30 a month. That adds up to thousands of dollars over the years, okay? This one in particular, after testing a whole bunch of different mind map apps, is called Simple Mind Pro. And I think it was like $30-40 or something like that. And I think I can't remember, I have the iPad version and I have the desktop version as well. And you can sync these, you can sync whatever projects you have through whatever cloud service you have. So if you're on, for instance, if you're on a Mac, you can use iCloud or you can use Dropbox or you can use Google Drive. You just sync it through that cloud service and it'll automatically update it everywhere, okay? And what I've done here is I've just opened up a new project. So if you want to open up a new project, you just go File, New Mind Map, for instance, and you have a choice of all of these different mind map types, depending on your visual preference. The one that I'm currently using is called Smart, and when you open a new one, it just kind of gives you a template. So you've got your core idea in the middle, this one that says Smart Goals, and then you've got these subsections, or topics, I believe they're called, and then these are broken down into specific points, and you can keep going, you can keep branching off indefinitely. Why do I like this app in particular? Number one, it's pretty. I like visually pleasing apps. I do not like ugly apps. I don't like staring at programmer art all day. It's very depressing to me. So I like the visual aspects of this. The second thing I like about this app is the fact that it's very spacious and bold. It's very readable. Some of the mind map apps that I experimented with, I probably experimented with like 10 of them, more or less. Sometimes they're very wiry. They're very congested. The text is very fine and hard to read. The outlining is very vague. I like the bold clarity of this, and I like the fact that it spaces things out nicely. So as you add more and more subsections, you really feel like you have space to read what you're doing, and it doesn't feel like visual clutter. One of the main reasons I like these is because it removes visual clutter, which makes it a lot easier to focus. Now, from here, when you start, you can click the little plus button to add something new. So let's say we're starting a project about art project, like this. Now, from here, I can click on the little plus button and I can add a new subsection, and it'll always reorganize it in a nice way. So let's say this one is, let me see, if we're starting an art project on creature designs, let's say. So I'll think of, I'll have one section for creature designs, like that. And I want this section to have a slightly larger text. So I'll click over here and I'll make these subsections 20 point to make them a little bit bolder. And I'll make this core section, let's make this 30 point. So I know which one's kind of the core node and which ones are subsections just based off of their size. Then from here, I can click on the plus again to add a child node to this. And here I'll go, I'm gonna think of, how can I organize creature designs based off of different climates, different natural climates? So there would be like Arctic climate, and then we could have, while I still have that selected, if I hit enter again, it'll just create another node directly on that, right? So all of these different nodes that I'm adding are adding to this creature design node, okay? So Arctic climate, then we have desert climate, and then we have maritime climate. Start with these ones for now, okay? Now from here, I can, let's say in maritime climate, if I wanted to add some things to this, I could say, oh, okay, so we can have lakes, we can have rivers, we can have oceans, etc., etc. So you can see how what this is allowing me to do is go deeper and deeper and deeper into something and getting more and more specific about a certain type of project. Rather than just sitting there and going, I guess I'll do a creature design today. What I can instead do is subdivide that thought process into a multitude of different types of creature designs that are all influenced by different environmental influences. What kind of adaptations would a polar bear have? Well, they need blubber, they need extra body fat to keep themselves warm, they need a thicker coat of fur, they have to hibernate during very, very bleak seasons where food is very, very scarce. They need to be able to burrow, so they're going to need claws to be able to burrow into the snow or the ice or the dirt or wherever it is that they're living. They need to be able to retain food for a while, so their digestive systems have to adapt to that. Are they carnivorous or are they herbivore? Then their teeth, etc., etc. All of these different adaptations that can influence my design decision in a very, very specific direction. And that specificity is very, very helpful for the creative mind. One of the biggest killers of creative thought is unlimited options. If and when I was ever to tell one of my students that week, just draw whatever you want next week, have fun. You have my word, they're going to come back the next week completely burnt out and crying because they're like, I don't know what to do. It was too many options. But if I tell them, okay, your assignment this week is to do old abandoned castle meets bananas. Have fun. Then they'll come back with 20 amazing ideas. So shortlisting into specific ideas is very valuable, isn't it? Okay. Now, from there, I might want to add another subsection. So this one's going to be character designs. And from character designs, I can go, well, maybe there's different, maybe I'm doing vampires or something like that. So I can do Bruja, and Nosferatu, and Gangrel, etc. If you've ever played Masquerade, you know where I'm going with this. Now, let's say I want image references to go with this. So I can go into here and I can add, I have this menu here where I can add image references. So I can go and I can grab an image. It can be from my Photos app. I can grab it from my desktop and I can drag and drop it into here. I can either add it into the topic. So let's add image in topic. And I can go onto my desktop. I can grab an image directly from my Photos app or from my desktop and it'll enter it into that bubble. Or I can just insert the image reference and it can go anywhere exterior of that. And I can even have a little connecting dot that connects these two things together. Let's say, as I'm doing this, what starts to get more and more interesting about this is, as I'm doing this, I can also go, you know what? I think that I want this to be in a different section. So I can just easily grab that element and move it somewhere where I feel it's more appropriate. Maybe I want to reorganize my thoughts. Maybe I'm visual, so I want things that are higher up to be higher of importance, and then they get less and less important as we go down. So I might want to say, okay, desert climate, I think I want to move this into the maritime climate because I'm stupid and I don't know climate, right? Or maybe I want to move the creature design, and actually I don't need to make that a separate section. I can just move that directly into the character design section and it'll reorganize everything within that section. If you don't like the way this is laid out, you can go and actually change the layout and you can change this to an entirely different map later on. Okay. Future editing Adam himself. I screwed something up in the edit, so I have to re-record it. So you can see here I've got a demo version of a course update that I'm doing for my mentorship online. And in this week we talk about lighting principles, value principles, etc. It's a fairly complex subject that I wanted to break down into a very intuitive and very easy to follow structure. So a lot of this was edited and moved around and stuff like that, but you can see where I've come to at this particular point, where I have lighting is the core principle, and then we have lighting principles up here, and then this breaks down into different subsections like ambient light and spotlight and key light and fill light, etc. Whatever the case might be. And this breaks down into specific subjects of importance. Now, if you look up close, you're going to notice what I've done here is I've converted these into a checklist, and you can make a checklist of any of these items that you have just by clicking on this triple dot menu up here, and you can go checkbox, checked or unchecked. Okay, and you'll also notice over here I have what's called, if we go into that same section over here on the kind of the mother node, so to speak. If I click over here, I can convert this to a roll up progress bar, meaning as I'm checking off these different items, you can see this fill up, kind of like a Trivial Pursuit pie chart type of idea. And it slowly fills up until you've fulfilled all of the criteria in this subsection, and it'll let you know when you've completed it, the level of progress that you've got here. And there's many different ways of customizing it. I'm not going to go through them all today, okay? But something I found really practical, and one of the things I got the most excited about this app was I can actually export these checklists by going up here, and I can go export. I don't know why it's in the calendar section. That was a bit misleading at the beginning. Export to reminders or export to calendar here. So if I click export to reminders, if you use the reminders app or whatever reminders app you have synced with your core reminders app, it will automatically export that in one shot with a full checkable list, including all of the subsections in the notes, directly to your reminders app, which I find really handy for things like shot lists. If I have anything that I need to check off and keep track of progress, here's an example of another project I worked on when I was working on the Sketchboard Pro 2 shot list. Here's a list of all the shots that I had to take, the whole checklist over here. Okay, so you can see where I used the same process to organize my videos. I absolutely love this feature. Now, let me show off a couple of other little quick features. You can see over here, right over here, you'll notice there's a little link button over here. So if I go over here, I can say add link to another mind map. If let's say you have another mind map that's a sub map of this one that has a whole other structure to it, I can actually link to another one of my mind maps and find that file in my cloud storage, right? Or in this particular case, I set it to link to web page, and here I've got VodiVidia's channel. So let's say if I'm doing something and I wanted to reference one of my videos or a reference video that I thought was particularly handy, I can link to that so that anytime I come back into here and I want to, let's say there's a video that explains certain principles that I wanted to reference from my course, I link it, and now I can click on that and it'll link me directly to Vadi's channel or whatever you want it to link to, essentially. I'm just using Vadi as an example. Another really cool thing, if you're working on the iPad version of it, when you go into this section over here and you want to add an image, you can select Add Image from Drawing. That's how I did this, because I did this on my iPad version. And what it'll do is automatically open up a drawing app, and you can do a little sketch, and you can import it here as a reference point, and it automatically adds it to this thing over here. Now, if you want to color code anything, then I can come into here, I can click on, let's say, the parent node, and I click on this little thing here, and here I can select the color. So I can color this, and you can see that when I change the color, it doesn't only change that parent node, but all the child nodes to this. I'm calling it parent and child nodes. I'm kind of stealing that term from 3D, but you got the idea, right? Now, if I only want to change the color of this and not the other ones, then I can change that one. But remember that whatever color you change will impact the colors of everything within that node as well, like that. So it's a really easy visual. I like visual guides to help organize my thoughts. Back to regular Atom. Super easy, quick, no friction, very intuitive. And once you get, I mean, like I said, I've only touched the surface, but those features alone, I get a ridiculous amount of use out of, and I've been hyper productive using these. So really, really, really cool. There you go. That said, there's one more app I want to share with you that I think you guys are going to be super, super excited about. It's called, and I credit Oliur, O-L-I-U-R, a really awesome YouTuber. He's a designer and an entrepreneur and stuff like that. But I discovered this app through his channel. And being an artist, I went, oh yeah, that's really cool. It's called Eagle. And I believe it's available for Mac OS or for Windows. It's not yet available for iPad OS or iPhones or Androids yet, but I've seen prototypes where they've been working on it online, so it's just a matter of time before they're going to be available on iPad as well. Okay? Just like Simple Mind Pro, your library is synced through the cloud. So when you first set it up, you want to set it up and have, like, for instance, save your main save file to iCloud or Dropbox or Google Drive or whatever. That way it can sync between different devices you're on, be it a desktop or whatever. And as you can see, it's an image referencing app, but this image referencing app has a lot of really, really cool features and perks. And when you get it, you have the desktop app over here, but you also, if I go back into Safari, you're going to see it also has the Safari plugin so that it works in conjunction with the desktop app as well. And I'll give you a quick tour of it. If you go back into the app, the number one advantage of using this is that it, unlike Pinterest, which is, I love Pinterest, I'm a complete fan of Pinterest. In Pinterest, you're forced to have access to only the low-res versions of it, right? You get that little window, and if you save it, it's a low-res version. Where in Eagle, you get the high-res versions of these images, or at least the highest available resolution image. And you can really zoom in and see the difference when you want to zoom in and see the finer details of what you're looking at. And I'm using my trackpad to zoom in and out of the image. Again, something you can't do in Pinterest directly, but you can see the quality of these image references is pretty awesome, right? And sometimes it takes a second to load, but you can see you really got access to some really nice details. So you can zoom in and really check out the finer detail of the work you're looking at. Really, really cool stuff, okay? You can change the views. So I can, for instance, for the thumbnails, I can make them bigger or smaller. You can go to here and you can change the layout. So you can have it being justified, for instance, that lays them all out in a more organized fashion. You can get a grid, or you can get a list. In my particular case, I like the waterfall because it's a little bit more reminiscent of Pinterest. You can, whatever information you want included, you can have it activated or disactivated. In Pinterest, for instance, you have access to the link where you can go and check out the source. Let's say you see somebody's artwork and you really think it's beautiful and you want to go and check it out on ArtStation and add them to your list. You can click on the link. Well, you have the links right over here. So it includes the links as well. let's say if you're working on a certain type of project, or you're working on some artwork that's part of a specific project and you want to organize your images for a project, you can add tags to it. So I can add tags and call this whatever project I want, like mentorship week 3 or whatever. And I can, whenever I click on that tag, it automatically loads all of those images that pertain to a specific project. You've got the actual image dimensions and stuff like that. You can rate it. So if there's certain images that you rate higher than others because you think they're really, really high quality references, it's got a rating system over here, okay? And something that I find really cool is you've got the color swatch. So any image you click on, you can see it automatically loads the color swatch. Now you can take this, you can go directly into Photoshop, you open up the color panel, you click on one of the swatches, and you can enter in that color directly into the color panel and sample the color directly, because these are all universal color swatches. I just click on it. There, I can copy the actual color swatch and I can paste it right into Photoshop or whatever other painting app I'm using. Pretty cool. But wait, there's more. It gets better. Here's some more stuff that I think are particularly cool. If you go into the browser, one of the things that I find particularly cool about this, really cool, and things that, again, this is where it takes it beyond Pinterest as an app. If I go into Pinterest, I'm bound to Pinterest and I'm bound to the functionality of Pinterest, albeit I do love Pinterest. One of the things I love about Pinterest is the discoverability of your imagery. I find it one of the best apps for self-discovery artistically. So if I go into my references app over here, my references board here, if there's, let's say there's an image like this, ooh, that's really pretty, right? I go into there, it says, oh, if you like that, here's some other examples, and here's some other examples. So it kind of pulls you down the rabbit hole of the kind of things that you're interested in. And as you do this over years and years, as this accumulates, Pinterest really starts to figure out your taste, and it really starts to feed your taste back at you, which is really, really, I find, instrumental in self-discovery artistically. Really valuable stuff. I was a bit irritated about, to me, it would be a bit of a deal breaker using the Eagle app, because it adds extra friction. If I like that discoverability feature. Discoverability is one of my favorite features in all of the apps that I like to use, like Tidal, for instance. Tidal has really good discoverability of other music you might be interested in by really understanding your tastes. And I was very pleased to discover, in fact, one of the things that made me pull the trigger on this app in the first place is you can actually install a plugin directly into Eagle, a free plugin that, let's say there's an image that you really like. Let's say I really like this image. I can just right click on it, and once the plugin's installed, you go into plugin and Pinterest visual search. It'll reference Pinterest to give you a search exactly like you would in Pinterest. Pretty cool, huh? Got you. Now I know I got your attention with that one. Now, moving on. The other thing I really like about this is the fact that adding images to your repertoire is super fast and effective. So for instance, if I'm in here, one of the ways, if you have the plugin installed over here, if you have it installed on your browser, and I believe it works with Safari or Chrome or even Arc, it might even work for Arc, I'm not sure. There's multiple different ways you can save it. You can go in here and you can choose to save it through that menu. You can also click and drag it, and when you open it, notice it automatically opens the Eagle window that allows you to drag it into whatever category. So if you have a certain menu, like if you organize yourself into different menus, you can drop it directly into that menu and it automatically saves it into there. Or if you just drag it here, I take that, I just drag it into the folder. There, you hear a little pop sound, and you can go back into Eagle, uncategorized, and now I can take it and I can throw it into whatever I've designated as my references folder. In the references folder, you can see what I've done here is I've got folders, but I can add subfolders and subfolders and subfolders, allowing you to organize into more and more fine projects, just like I was with the mind map. I can categorize things in terms of priority, and I'm not stuck with just having to throw everything into a single folder. However, there's an even quicker, easier way to save images. If you have the plugin installed, I'm going to click here because that looks really pretty. You can hold down Option, and I believe they have this for Windows as well, which would be Alt, and you right click. Alt right click. So here, click on the image, Alt right click. Click on the image, Alt right click. Click on the image, no, damn it, advertising copy. Ooh, that's cool. It's got a bit of a Souls vibe to it. There. So it automatically saves it. You go into Eagle really, really quick, grab all of them, dump them into your references folder. They're sitting there waiting for you. Now, something else. When I first started using this, I have a massive Pinterest board that I've been building on for years and years and years and years. It just goes on indefinitely, okay? I can keep on going indefinitely. I can't be damned to individually add each one of these images to Eagle. So what you can do is, for your Pinterest board, for instance, if you're on an image reference board like Pinterest, you can batch save the entire Pinterest board. And it took me like maybe 2 minutes or 3 minutes, and it just loaded through, it went through my entire Pinterest board here, and it just uploaded the entire thing into Eagle in one shot. So that gives you a really, really good head start on your image reference board so that you don't have to go through the painstaking act of trying to do this manually. Not necessary. Next, when I'm actually in the Eagle app, and let's say I click on this image, this looks really pretty. If I want to save this, let's say if I'm doing a search, so I can go in here and I can go plugin and Pinterest visual search. I can just use the arrow keys. That's really pretty actually. I can use the arrow keys to flick through all of this Pinterest image search. And if there's any images that I like, I just hit the S key. And you can see right here, if I mouse over it, save S, so S. And you can see I got a little check mark there to show that I just saved it. Flick, 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 flick. Let me see. Interesting. Save, 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 save. See how fast I'm going? Save. This is 10 times faster than Pinterest. Save, 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 save. Now, close it out, close. Go back into my uncategorized, all 10 of these images, grab them, drag them into my references folder. Pretty dope, huh? Okay, but wait, there's more. There's more. The next thing I really, really love about this, but although there's a little bit of an asterisk to this one, is it's also great for using as a viewer for videos. So for me, for instance, there's no mystery, I love listening to VaatiVidya while I paint, right? So what I've done is in here, I've created a video reference folder, and in it, I've created a designated folder for VaatiVideos, and I basically saved his entire repertoire, and I can play all of his videos directly in here. Now the asterisk to this is that both my image references and my video folder are in the same spot, right? So I can't actually watch the videos and look through my image references, because if I do this and I click on this, if I want to go back to check out my image references, I have to exit out of that, essentially, which kind of sucks. So Eagle, if you're listening, what would be really, really cool is if you could actually have a viewer, if you haven't, maybe you already have, and I don't know about it, but if you have a viewer for your videos, it would be really cool if I could go into my video reference thing, just have a little viewer going up there, and then I could navigate out of my video folder and go and check out my image reference at the same time, so I can multitask a little bit. The other videos that I add in here are film producers, for instance, like Brandon Lee, that I'm a huge fan of, or Clan, that I discovered recently, that just produce absolutely visually stunning videos, particularly if you're a Souls fan. Super, super awesome app that I find has really sped up my process of gathering references. And anything that helps me to kind of reduce the friction and add all of this wonderful functionality, but also gives me access to the best quality of these images possible. And just as a cherry on top, the fact that it's such a pretty app, it's so visually pretty, is, to me, it was worth the cost right off the bat. Again, I would love to see an iPad, particularly an iPad version of this. iPhone would be handy too, but I don't usually use my iPhone when I'm drawing. And a video viewer. Maybe they have a plugin that they can add to it or something like that, but I think that would be really cool to be able to get this dual functionality, so I could use it as a one-stop shop app for referencing and for ambient video watching while I get into the painting mood. Cool. Hopefully you appreciated this. I know it wasn't a particularly organized video, but I thought I had to share this before I sat down to paint. But now I'm gonna sit down to paint. So I love you. Gimli, say bye-bye. Say bye, Gimli. Easy baby, say bye. And yeah, happy painting. Talk to you in a bit. Ciao.